What's up guys, Max here at the Landfather YouTube channel. It is a beautiful Sunday in late February. And I've got a big problem. I'm not done with my firewood for the year yet and I need to get on it. So that's what I'm working on this afternoon. I've got a plan. I've got a good plan and I've already executed a portion of that plan. So the next part of the plan, I've bucked up a lot of dead wood in and around my woods. And what I need to do is get it all in the same place so I can split it. What I'm going to do is use a combination of some of my equipment and my new toy. I bought a dump trailer. So to move that trailer around, it's a gooseneck dump trailer, and I don't have a gooseneck mover for the 3-point hitch on my tractor. So I got a skid steer quick attach trailer mover from Beaver, and I want to go unbox that real quick so I can start move this trailer around to where I need it to be. Here it is. Team lift for your safety, not on your life. Ooh, there's some staples in there. That's probably good for the edge. Got a Spyderco Spidey Chef in the pocket today. All right, we're back. My buddy Michael had to stop by to make a few measurements for something that's going to be hitting the channel here pretty soon, but let's get this thing opened up. Here it is. That's not particularly complicated, is it? I've got a ball hitch I'll go ahead and put in there. Actually, I just took the one that's in the trailer mover on the tractor right now, on the 3-point arms, and I reckon that should do it. Thank you, Beaver. I'll have to put, I don't remember what this cost, but it looks sturdy enough. We'll see. I'm gonna put it on the Coyote and go move my new dump trailer, which you're about to be introduced to. Here's my new dump trailer, which I am going to do a more dedicated video on soon. It's a Kaufman 7x16 gooseneck. It's got 8,000 pound axles and 16 ply tires. GVWR's like 17 and some change, so it's almost a 12,000 capacity trailer, 12,000 pounds. It's got a dual gate on it, spreader gate in, barn door styles. It's got a little bit of gravel left in it. It's gonna work real good for my plan for this firewood, I think. So let's try this new trailer mover out. There we go. Let's see if it'll move it. It does feel a little heavy. Well, it definitely moved it a few feet, no problem. It's a little tricky to get the hang of just because you're backing up with the trailer attached to the front of you. But it's moved, and most importantly, I can get to the side of it. Which brings me to my next part of the plan. All the wood that I cut this morning is not in a place that I can really, I could have gotten to with the machine and grappled it out and cut it all in one place. So I bucked it where it lay, and what I'm going to do is fill the bucket up on the tractor, dump it into the dump trailer until the dump trailer is either full or I've run out of wood, go pull it down to my wood yard. I'll dump it out, split it, put it in totes, and I think this should be a reasonably efficient plan. We'll see. It would have been way easier to grapple all this stuff into a pile and cut it in one place. It just wasn't really feasible. So I've got some work to do. Let's go ahead and start carrying logs. Well, I think that's pretty much everything I bucked up over right in this little area. Let's see, we still got any room in the bucket? You can fit a surprising amount of wood in a tractor bucket. I probably should get the bucket from the skid steer actually, but I'm kind of curious how much really quicker that would end up being. There's load number one. Let's go dump it in the dump trailer. Fill it up again a whole bunch more times. All right, I'm gonna go dump this one, come back and get the rest of this. Oh, that's a great sound. Most of this wood I cut today is oak, well, at least over here. This is a little cherry tree that had broken off and was gonna die, so I finished her on off. You know, I sure do like this kind of work. This working with your hands kind of work. I don't think I'd want to make my living from it, but it is really cathartic. Let's go dump it to Crumpet. All right, so some of my camera equipment is dying, which is a bummer, but I've still got a few hours of light left, so I'm gonna keep at it. I'm gonna throw this stuff on the charger, and I'm gonna check back in. I like this system so far. We'll see. So it's kind of amazing how like figuring out logistical challenges on like a small farm or homestead really can determine your productivity. I mean, even just as simple as like, how do I move a whole bunch of things from one place to another? And how do I set up systems and processes that help make my work more efficient? I don't know what's the most efficient way. I've got some ideas on it. I don't think it's this, but for the circumstance, I think that this is going to be a good solution. So, and I'm gonna see how full I can get this dump trailer this afternoon. So it's later tonight. I got about as much as I could get done before I started to get real tired, but I got bad news. The absolutely unthinkable happened. I hit an old piece of metal fence that was kind of buried in some brush and some trees, and nicked a couple of the teeth up on my saw pretty good. So gonna have to pay a little penance and get this thing filed up. I sharpened it earlier today, but I didn't film it. But it's pretty obvious it's not cutting like it was. So let's go ahead and do that. You know, I saw a comment the other day on a YouTube video that echo saws are for poor people, and it was said in jest, and it was said by like an arborist, I believe, or a guy that owns a tree service company. But man, I just thought that was funny. Look, I guess I've never owned a steel saw. I've owned a steel clone. My dad's got a steel. I've got a Husqvarna 460 Rancher and then two Echoes, the CS 590 and one of their little top handle arborist saws, CS 271T. There's the Husky. And it's very possible I don't know what I'm talking about, but I sure like this Echo, especially for what I paid for it. Maybe that's the thing. I got this saw with two extra chains for $225. And it had 2 tanks of gas put through it. So it was basically brand new. And I've liked it so far. No qualms about using this Echo. But I do kind of want some stills. Maybe we'll see what the future holds. Those MS500Is are pretty stout. I could see myself wanting one of them. Quick shot of the setup. The rakers are good, so I'm just going to touch the teeth. I've got a little light right here, which is always handy when you're doing something a little bit more delicate. Like that tooth is sharp, that tooth is obliterated. So I'm going to go ahead and touch this thing up and get it ready for tomorrow morning. I like to mark a tooth. It's a little felt tip marker here. That's kind of the starting tooth. You know, if you've never filed a chainsaw chain before, all the mystery is just in the doing it. Don't forget that files only cut real good a certain way. Like I said, I'm no expert at this. But if you want to get good at it, one of the things I've seen is just do it a lot. And by golly, is it more appealing to run a chainsaw with a sharp chain than with a dull chain. A lot of people, you know, outsource the filing of their chains. They'll take it down to a hardware store, let somebody use like an electric one. Seems like a lot of hassle. This is one of the ones that's really, really foobarred. Well, that's a lot better than it was. It's not very pretty, but at least it's got a point on it. What I'm doing with my thumb here, when I go like that, so I'm just kind of feeling, see how sharp it is. You can get a good sense of how sharp a chain is based off that point right there, that outside point on the cutting edge. It should feel, you can just get, I mean, you'll just feel it when it's sharp. It should feel like it grabs fingerprints or the little ridges on the end of your thumb. Like it wants to get in there and cut you a bit. By the way, a vise makes a big difference for filing chains. There's some things that like, it's the right way to do it. Filing a chainsaw without a vise sucks. There's a lot of, electric methods for this. I've got one. I've got one of those little Harbor Freight ones. And I gave one to my dad. He couldn't quite figure it out. There's some art to it. But honestly, I think I've really just taken to the round file. It's less complicated. I don't really think it takes any much more time. And I think, well, one, you don't have to worry about losing the temper in a tooth. If you grind a tooth too much, you can do what's called bluing it, where you take the temper out. If you're not particularly used to running power saws, one of the things, you shouldn't have to push real hard. And if you push real hard, either your teeth aren't sharp or so this little part's called a raker. It's really a depth gauge. It controls the depth of the cut, how much this can bite into. If you have to push real hard, there's a chance your rakers are too high. I took them down earlier today, so I'm not going to touch them right now. But using a chainsaw with a nice sharp chain is a lovely, lovely thing. And similarly, using a chainsaw with a chain that needs to be sharpened just kind of sucks. It's pretty easy to tell when it's not right. There's an angle, a little etching into every one of these teeth that shows you the right angle to file it. Just try and match that angle. Try and be parallel with it. I also don't really want this in any way to be for you guys to feel like this is me trying to tell you how to sharpen a chain. I'm not good enough at it to really advise people how to do it. Let's just use this as a good opportunity, if you've ever thought about it, to just give it a shot. I mean, what's the worst things that can happen? You ruin a $25 chain, but you pick up a really valuable skill along the way. I do find, as a general rule, longer strokes work best, and I find I can get a sharper tooth if I finish with one or two real light strokes on it. And so we're back to the one we started on. So now we're going to switch over to the other side cutters. So we're going to be pushing this way, and I find a little number like this, we use two hands to kind of pull the file and push the file. Works pretty well for me. One of the things that can go wrong when you're doing this is if you are way better at sharpening one side than the other, your saw can have a tendency to walk through the cut. I'm pretty happy with this. So far, it's gone pretty smooth. That's a pretty sharp chain. You're left with a nice little pile of shavings. The saw is ready to rock. I'm having such a good time filing saws, I'm going to touch up the Husky while I'm at it. Oh yeah, I'm happy with that. It's a chilly morning in South Carolina today. Doing more firewood work from yesterday. This is what I got done. This is everything I got loaded up yesterday. I think this was 8 buckets, something like that. I got Griffin over here today, and we're working on getting this a little bit more filled up. So this has been the setup. Got a little path going back here. This is where the tree was. And Griffin's going to demonstrate how well I filed those chainsaw chains yesterday. What you think? She cutting? You're right, she's cutting. World's fastest machine. Look, I get that this is kind of a silly thing to do, and that we could very easily just cut these on the ground. But if you did have a real big pile of poles like this, and you had one of these little minis, and you didn't want to be bending over all day, and you wanted to keep your chain sharp, I think this is a pretty feasible way to do it. It'd be really slow if you didn't have two people. I decided to be the bigger person and, run the saw and let, Griffin play with my machine because he's so delicate and sensitive. Why don't you fire it on up? I like that.
Worked out a lot better.
I like that a lot. I like that.
Yeah.
You don't have to bend over.
It's just there.
That was pretty fast too. Keep your saw chain clean, out of the dirt, easy. Let's load up the bucket. If you were like an older gentleman or somebody, not so young and strong and tough as myself, this could really save you, or really extend this machine specifically, really extend the amount of time that you can cut firewood comfortably before it just becomes too much of a drain on you. Bending over and using a saw at your feet can drain people pretty quick, and this, you can keep it at the perfect, whatever height you want it, you can have it, and it does a lot of the heavy lifting for you, so I'm pretty impressed with that. Cameraman never dies. Beautiful. There's a lot of wood in this trailer. It's mostly pig nut hickory too, which should make for some excellent firewood. I'm real curious how many totes of firewood are in this trailer. Be interesting to find out. All right, dump the last load in for now. I was just talking with Griffin. I think we're gonna move where the wood yard is. So I'm gonna go show you guys a little before, and then Griffin's gonna clean it up while I'm gone this afternoon. And then we'll have a new place to cut the firewood. I don't know what that voice was. That was kind of weird. We got another, probably the last dump coming into the trailer. There's a lot of firewood in there. So Griffin's gonna get the mulch head on the skid steer, and then we're gonna come down here. So I'm gonna make this area my new wood yard. I'm gonna have Griffin come in here and clean up all this with the mulch head, expand it a little bit, and probably grind some of this stuff so we have a good place to keep totes. But I think this should be a pretty good spot to do it. We'll have good shade if the leaves are out. It should be pretty well draining, but it does mean we've got to move a lot of stuff and cut some stuff and grind some stuff and make it a little bit more usable. You want a lot of, at least I want a lot of space in my wood yard so I can use my machines effectively and not be too cramped. All right, so here's my new wood yard. It sure does look nice. Got a few totes ready to go. Oh yeah. My favorite time of firewood time, which is the time when we actually start to split. So I'm gonna get this dump trailer dumped out. And I'm gonna get the splitter down here and get to work. So here's it all dumped out. Here's the old four-wheeler to bring the splitter down. I'm gonna drag a tote over here and try and get it positioned so it's as efficient as possible, as little wasted movement between splitting and stacking into the totes as possible. Just got to think about how I want to do that. One of the other things I wanted to get done is get one of these little induction hour meters put on the wood splitter. It doesn't have an hour meter, and these things are super cheap and really handy. I first saw these on a channel called 99 Projects. He put one on his Chinese mini excavator. So I put one on mine, and I bought a second one to put on the wood splitter. They're pretty simple to install. There's a cord in here, a wire, and you wrap it around a couple little zip ties and things in here. You wrap this wire around the spark plug lead, and then it fits in this little slot. And then you've got an hour meter. So let's see if I can't get that figured out. Took about 4 minutes, get that thing on there. So it just can tell when there's spark going through the lead wire into the spark plug, and it just keeps track of that time and displays it on a little digital readout right there. These are a great solution, and I'm excited that I have it on there now. Time to gas up the splitter. So the other day, I came down here and split up 2 1/4 totes or so, worked through the pile a little bit, gonna fire the splitter up and hopefully get through the rest of these logs today. And then I'm gonna be done for the year. I think I'll be done with firewood at that point, and that'll feel really good. All right, that's all the wood that was in that dump trailer. This over here actually wasn't in that dump trailer, so that load split up into exactly 4 totes, so a cord and a third. I was hoping for 5, but I'm also very happy with 4. In case anyone's curious, that was 3.2 hours of runtime. So I got to fill one more tote up. There's one that's already been started down at the old wood yard. And then I'll have 15, plus the 2 I still have remaining for the rest of the season, and a half. So that would be 17 and a half total, which I am going to say is adequate. It won't quite get me 2 years, but it will certainly mean I don't have to worry about running out of wood next year. And now that I've got some kind of processes in place, I think I should be able to make enough wood next year to not have to get into a cycle where I'm constantly feeling like I'm behind. So that's really awesome. So what I'm gonna start working on now is going ahead and moving these to where I keep the firewood. Got it done. Firewood for 2024, finished. Here we are, 15 new baskets, about 5 cords. Feels incredible to have it finished. This is the one from last year, and a little bit left in this one. Candidly, this is by far the most firewood I've ever made in a year. Last year I did 4 cords, this year I did 5. I imagine next year I'll probably hopefully do a little bit more than that. I know 5 cords to some people is nothing, drop in the bucket. But to me, this is a lot of firewood, and I'm really proud of myself for doing it. Got a lot of oak, hickory, cherry. This should be some really good firewood. Tell you what, this pig nut hickory, some tough stuff. You know, this firewood's gonna heat my home. It's gonna warm our hearth. It's going to provide a coziness that's really hard to quantify. And just knowing that I'm ready for next burning season, it's a huge weight off my shoulders. It's a big responsibility cutting this much firewood if you want to use it. It's a big job. And it's just really nice that it's finished. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. This is a much longer video than I normally make, and it's a fun experiment to try and put it together. If you've made it this far, I really would appreciate commenting and liking and subscribing if you could. I've got a lot more good stuff coming. So if you like this sort of thing, if you like tractors and chainsaws and skid steers and mini excavators and all sorts of fun man toys, I think you should stick around. There's a lot of good stuff coming. Some pretty big announcements that are going to hit the channel here pretty soon. Some fun projects and some fun, some pretty big surprises. So this is Max with the Landfather YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Signing off.